Black History Month you find
Ridiculous.
why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? Well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
No.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
What do you think about what he just said?
Yeah, I actually get where he's coming from, because I mean, yes, I've gone to Black Heritage or African American Heritage parades, and I've done all of that. I've enjoyed them and stuff like that. But I do feel like it's just a way to appease the Black people. Like, all right, look, go ahead and give them a month, so they can get it out their system.
Something to keep them quiet,
They just shut them up, get it out their system, and then go back to business as usual. So in that, I can say that I agree with him, because I don't need a month to remind me that I'm Black. I'm Black yesterday, today, and forevermore. I don't plan on. I am who I am. I'm not changing my culture. So I don't need you to give me a month to tell me that that's who I am. Also, it's like, especially like in this country, I don't know. There's so much darkness. There's such, like the dark ages. There's a piece of history that is dark and it's ugly.
Yes.
And what I hear from him is like, let's not talk about it anymore. I do believe that if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. So I don't think that we should negate it and obliterate it and remove it from our history. We need to talk about all of it.
Right.
It's the same thing like family members. Same thing. Uncle so-and-so, and you listen.
Yeah.
All of it. We got to talk about all of it, because you get tired. This is the same.
Now let me cut you off. Don't just glaze over Uncle so and so. Okay, so what she's talking about with Uncle so and so is the uncle that you can't take the kids around.
Yeah, because he likes to touch little kids.
Because he likes to touch the little kids, and we don't lock that guy up for whatever reason. To this day, I don't understand that reasoning.
Because in the Black culture, they don't send the uncle to the jail.
We don't.
They don't lock him up.
We don't get him locked up. We just, he can't be around the kids. And it's a shame that we do that kind of stuff in the Black community. But there's so many things that we do because we don't trust whites for anything. We don't trust whites for anything. Yeah. So it's very shameful.
Yes,
it's shameful.
That is just crazy.
I don't see why we would do that, but because we have no, it's almost like we have no refuge. We have nowhere to go. So we try to police within our communities.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do because the vast majority of it, although we have the verbal ability, we don't have the physical protection ability. So it's a lot of problems there. But
sad.
Let me say this about this whole thing. The reason why I agree with Morgan Freeman is because I really believe they use that to cripple the Black mind as a child. They show these horrific pictures of this man with these keloids from getting whipped on his back.
Yes.
Right? They show these pictures. I'm not going to show it because I'm trying to let that image die. I want that image to die. I have no problem with saying, yes, Blacks were slaves, but I do have a problem with saying only Blacks were slaves, because only Blacks were not slaves.
No.
Everybody enslaved everybody. Okay, that's just what they did back then.
Indigenous people, all cultures, for sure.
That's what they did back then. So in that breath, I can see why he's saying stop with the Black History Month, because all you're doing is telling me how screwed I am as a Black person. what do you feel about the schools still telling us that this is what happened to our people during Black History?
All right, we went through this already when last year, it's like a motel every other building. Gotta come back over here. Last year during COVID, when all the kids were in virtual, it was tough. Thank God, our kids actually did really very well, but it was a struggle for a lot of children. I mean, for people, we work all day long behind a computer. I mean, it's not easy in general, so I can imagine for kids. And so at that particular time, there was a teacher who was executing the curriculum the way that they were hired to do. And unfortunately, like, we had a couple of teachers, I don't even agree with this, but it's my job, I got to teach it.
Right.
So you overheard a teacher telling our son, you were slaves, your people were slaves, and et cetera, et cetera. It kept going on and on about the Middle Passage and all of that because it was Black History Month. This is my thing, and I will not stop saying it. It's you have to look at it, the big picture. The big picture is that it's the powers that be that are in control of the curriculum. So because they are in control of the curriculum, they get to puppeteer and pick and choose what they want the kids to learn. The kids should learn about agriculture, business. They should be learning about things that they're going to use for their life, and they're not. So when you overheard the teacher telling them, like, yeah, you were slaves, and our son was like, well, actually, and he, in a very kind, sweet way, because he's a kind young man, but like, no, actually, we were kings and queens, because we talk about our own Black history, we talk about our culture at home.
Right.
So when some teacher says something that contradicts the study that we've already been doing, our kids know. I have a problem with it, not because they say that part, but just like this country, they only say one part and not the whole story. Yep. That's the issue I have. Not that they teach it, because you need to teach it all. So that's my thing. If you're going to teach that, if you're going to teach about Irish American, all the cultures, every other month is another Heritage Month for some culture. So my thing is, teach it all.
Teach it all.
Talk about it all. Don't just say what parts you want to say. And because our thing is, you want to continue to build esteem in your children. You want to let them know that you are amazing and you work hard enough. Yes, you can achieve that, but you need to work your butt off. Like, you need to, you want to fulfill that part for them and help them to see themselves in a positive light. And constantly hearing that you're a slave is not something that's going to perpetuate that. Now, I do want them to know that, because like Morgan Freeman says, it is a part of American history.
It's a part of American history.
So it is a part of American history.
But so is, what is his name? I can't remember his name. I think this is the guy. So is about the guy the black man who was a slave, was freed from being slaves, and then went and owned slaves. Yeah. He was a black man. Mm-hmm. So why don't we talk about him? Why don't we talk about the black man that owned slaves? Why don't we talk about how did the slaves get purchased in the first place? Mm-hmm. How did they go all the way where we were, pick us up off the fields, and then take us back to America? How did that happen?
It's the same difference that happens now. Somebody they tell them that they about to get the come up, and listen, they always say that in the hood, snitches get stitches, right? Mm-hmm. But if somebody paying top dollar enough,
you gonna snitch.
Then you'll do it.
How many plea bargains and plea deals did somebody do so they can stay out of jail, and now somebody's in jail because they took a plea bargain?
But the comedian said the next 48, that TV show, and they said, they bought you for a Sizzler dinner or whatever. They bought you for a Sizzler like dinner. They got off. They helped you get the person off because you ratted them out or whatever the case. It's the same thing. The same thing.
Kathy Hochul was actually in New Jersey giving free net tickets to the kids so they can get the thingy. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to mess up the video.
Yeah, because all black kids play basketball, right?
Not only that, because
the stereotype is crazy.
I'll sell my child into that thingy, point, so I can take them to a basketball game. Yeah. And it's working. It's a shame. If it's working on us now, I know it worked back then. And back then they had guns, they had all kinds of stuff to give to these these African kings and queens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what I'm reading, they were prisoners of the other's tribe. So they went to war, they lost, they imprisoned them, and then when white people came over and said, hey, we'll buy these people off of you for a gun or this, that, and the third, it was an easy answer. It was a layup. I can get wealthy and get rid of the people who's eating up all my food. And I no longer have to deal with them. So a lot of this stuff has everything to do with just capital gain. This is a class issue. It's always been a class issue.
Yeah.
And if you could teach the lower level of us that you have been slaves your entire life and you will always be slaves, we will accept a job at Home Depot for $12 an hour, because at least we can pay some of our bills. We may not be wealthy like, I don't know, LeBron James, but we can at least not be in poverty, right? But we are actually still in poverty working at $12 an hour.
Yeah, that worker bee mentality is not going to get
it. Don't work.
Especially not in this climate.
You get taxed first. Isn't that something? As low as we get paid, we get taxed before everybody. Now, granted, we get that some of that money back at the end of the year, but we get taxed first. Is it no wonder why we can't build wealth?
Right. It's the kind of stuff they need to teach our kids in school. And if not, like many of us, that's why we pulled them out.
Yep, we're pulling them out because I don't want my kids to be confused like this. All right? I mean, the black confusion is big. We are so confused. We don't know where we're coming or going.
As a people, yeah.
As a people, we don't know where we're coming or going, and it's because there's so much misinformation. Listen, guys, you got to understand something. Every ounce of information we got from y'all. Okay? We got from our school districts. We got from the elites. We got from those who was able to rewrite history. That's where we got it from. We didn't get it from ourselves. All right? We didn't get it from ourselves. We did. How many of us actually went to the motherland to learn from Umbuku?
Right.
None of us. I didn't learn from Umbuku. I learned from Scott. I learned from y'all. So this is what I'm saying. Like, is it no wonder why we're so confused as black people? We don't really know if we're coming and going because we've gotten so much misinformation for so long that it's gotten to a point where we don't even want to listen to y'all anymore. Every book that we can ever read has been written by y'all.
Yeah. By them.
Hey guys, if you want to support the channel, you can do so via PayPal or Cash App. There will be links in the description below.